Coming up on Network Africa, President Uhuru Kenyatta continues his East Africa tour, says he is in Kenya today and signing some major deals. Then Rwanda uses a possibly lethal gas to power up their country. And later, Kenya braced the taboo of sex education amongst children with tech alternatives. We're glad you could join us on this Eid al-Fitr edition of Network Africa. Well, later on the program, we'll fill you in on how the Nigerian President, Muhammadu Buhari, broke his fast and the latest comments on the fight against corruption. For now, let's begin in East Africa, specifically in Kenya, where a fourth policeman has been arrested as a potential suspect in the murder of human rights lawyer Willie Kimani and two others. This development comes one day after three others appeared in court. A post-mortem report into the deaths of a Kenyan lawyer, his client, and their driver has showed they were brutally beaten before they were killed. It reveals that they were beaten and strangled. The pathologist found that the lawyer, Willie Kimani, was hit on the back of his head repeatedly with a heavy blunt object until his skull fractured. Taxi driver Joseph Mururi also had injuries to his head and was strangled. The brutal murders have sparked national outrage. Well, we're still looking at developments in Kenya, but this time on a much more optimistic note, as Kenya's #1 citizen, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is playing host to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The visit is a big deal and has caused a huge traffic jam in the capital, Nairobi. But that might just be a small price to pay when it's weighed against the benefits. Based on what President Kenyatta has been tweeting on social media, the visit has already led to the signing of various deals which would improve imperative sectors in Kenya. We understand that both countries will benefit in security, trade, agriculture and economic cooperation. But for Israel, it could also be looking at the possibility of being an African Union observer. Well, joining us from Nairobi, where all this is happening, is the lead consultant for Sovereign Insights, Mr. Vincent Kimosop. Mr. Kimosop, thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
You're welcome. How are you?
Now, please, can you fill us on how things are going as regards the Prime Minister's visit to Kenya?
I think first it is important to appreciate that there is appreciation of the increasing rise and the influence that Kenya is having politically on matters at the regional and at the global level. In the last 1 year, you will notice Kenya has hosted Barack Obama, the Prime Minister of Italy, the Pope. So you can see that this is because of its rising diplomatic profile. And the other thing that also recently coming just after the Prime Minister of Turkey. So these are interests that are in the realm of business. Looking specifically at Netanyahu's visit, Kenya shares a lot of history with Israel, particularly in the area of security. We all have had challenges on matters of terrorism. So you can see that Kenya is seeking to take advantage and use the experience that Israel has had to bolster its fight against terror. And of course, other benefits that or diplomatic interests would be in the area of business, trade, and water, specifically irrigation.
Oh, we know that Kenyans might be displeased with the traffic jam due to this visit, but how are they reacting to the news of the deals which have been signed or those which are about to be signed, as the case may be?
I think since it was communicated, so people were aware that there were likely to be disruption. Of course, unlike the situation when we had President Obama, where literally some areas of the town were affected. So in our situation, actually the traffic jams are coming as a result of the blockages of access roads to certain areas of the town. So that is understood, and of course they say that choices have consequences. So by hosting such a diplomatic, high-profile person like Netanyahu, those are the consequences. So a lot of complaints and concerns online, but you can see people seem to appreciate and to understand what it entails by hosting such an individual.
Well, we understand that Israel's place as an observer of the AU could be restored with the help of Kenya. What do you think about that possibility?
You only need to look at when the president and the deputy were facing cases at the International Criminal Court. You actually notice their diplomatic push by Kenya was able to shape opinion of the African Union. And if you remember all the issues that Kenya was interested, the African Union supported it. So it's possible that the push by Israel to come back to its observer status of the AU will be realized because of the diplomatic profile. You remember yesterday there was a regional summit in Uganda, bringing together the president of Uganda, the president of Zambia, South Sudan, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, and also representation from Tanzania. That is numbers on its own, and that is the East African region. If they speak with one voice on an issue, there is high chances that this could actually be realized as soon as possible.
Well, before we let you go, Mr. Kimosop, we understand that protests have been taking place in Kenya based on police brutality, which probably led to Willie Kimani's death. That's the human rights lawyer. Now, are those protests still ongoing?
I think it is, yes. Yesterday, this was an expression of dissent by civil society organized demonstration on Monday. It was not only in Nairobi, but on different parts of the country. Tomorrow, the Law Society of Kenya will actually also be holding their own. I think mainly the interest because of the lawyer who died by representing a client, and not only a client, but the poor and the vulnerable. So who was working for the International Justice Mission. So I can say that there are still concerns and outrage still on the discussion. The citizens are not happy, and with our progressive constitution, they needed to express their dissent on this. So and calling on the authorities to address it so that there will be justice for those that are affected, and those who are the perpetrators are brought to book.
Well, how often do we get to see cases of police brutality in Kenya?
I think that, if I can answer that, we have to look at the contextual, or you have to appreciate the context in which the country has come from. Usually, when you reform a country, the way Kenya has gone through different types of reforms, the last frontier of reforms are usually the security sector, because at some point they were fused with the executive, and the executive using them for partisan interests. So I will say that there is some progress, improvement in institutions established, and then Kenyans are even increasingly becoming bolder to report some of the cases. So there are still concerns, there are still pockets. The philosophy of policing is yet to change, and that's why we're witnessing what we have seen. But hopefully these are being addressed, and we're seeing responsiveness from the concerned authorities.
All right, thank you.
That's the point to the right direction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimosop, for your time on Network Africa. Still to come on Network Africa, Rwanda uses a possibly lethal gas to power up their country. Please stay with us.